Thanks, Anne. It's 8:34. Senior food scientists, doctors and politicians have called on the government to act to reduce the cancer risk from processed meats such as bacon. They say the meat industry should stop denying that the danger exists. I'm joined by Professor Chris Elliott, the chair of the Institute for Global Food Security at Queen's University. Professor, very good morning to you. What evidence is there that the cancer risk is there, and what is causing it?
Yes, good morning. There's been a huge amount of evidence that's been compiled over quite a number of years showing that how meat can be preserved by the use of large amounts of what are called nitrates can have a detrimental effect on our health, as can quite a number of things that are added to our food. So there's been reports by the World Health Organization, quite a lot of academic studies have shown that high levels of nitrates in meat have an adverse effect on our health, and particularly it has been linked to colorectal cancer.
And how much would you need to be eating to run that risk?
It's always one of those difficult things to determine. So the World Health Organization said if you eat more than about 50 grams of processed meat per day, that increased your risk of colorectal cancer by about 18%. So it's not a massive risk, but it's just one of those extra burdens that we put upon ourselves.
And to what extent is the industry denying the risk?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not so sure the industry is in denial. It's techniques that have been used for many, many hundreds of years in terms of how we preserve meat. But as the evidence starts to stack up to say, do you know what, this isn't really good for our health, it's time to look for alternatives. And the alternatives aren't easy, I have to tell you, but there are a number of companies now in different parts of the world, including Northern Ireland, I have to tell you, that have found ways of actually curing meat that don't need these nitrate chemicals added anymore.
And how far are we from seeing that in our supermarkets?
Well, we're seeing them now, actually. There are some products starting to appear which are nitrite-free bacons. The world's largest food company now, Nestle, has started to use some of these techniques. We've got our local bacon company, Finnebrogue, have started to use these techniques. There's a lot of work going on in Italy for a lot of the Italian hams now that are nitrate-free. So I think the denial is to say that there is no way that you can start to remove nitrates, because lots of companies are starting to do it. So I think we need a big push now sitting behind a lot of the meat industry to say it is now time to change.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, if these changes are already afoot, why do we need a push like yours? Well, always change is difficult. As I said to you, Noel, it's not easy to replace the nitrates. There will be a lot of investment needed by companies to find these different ways to do it. So I just think it is now time just to press the go button for a lot of the big companies to say, now is the time to start to think about how you're going to get the nitrates out of meat, because what we need is food that's safer and widely available. And does removing the nitrates change the taste? The studies that have been done so far indicate that actually there's no difference in the taste, because what the nitrates do is they actually change the colour of the meat to preserve the meat. They're not a huge factor in the overall taste. Because people say, you mentioned bacon, and that's the one that most people say, well, I would become a vegetarian, but I couldn't give up bacon. So it's a very important part of the meat eater's diet. Well, I mean, absolutely. And what we don't want to do is lose the pleasure of eating and be scared of everything that we turn to. And there are techniques now to make our food more wholesome and safe. And it's, let's try to get the nitrates out, let's get the sugar out, let's get the salt out. These are things that have been known for a long time that are detrimental to our health. And we really do need, to get these things taken on board by some of the big players in the food industry. Should they be banned? Yeah, I mean, I think a ban is a step too far at the moment, because what we would need to do is to put in place, I think, a scheme to say, you know what, you've got 2-3 years, let's move towards getting these nitrates removed now. And, that should be done on a basis of a voluntary switch by the industry. But if they want to put their fingers in their ears and not pay attention to it, well, a ban could be something that should be considered for the future. Professor Chris Elliott from the Global Food Security Institute at Queen's University, thank you very much indeed.